There are 9 principles that are controlling factors within the very DNA, RNA and chromosomes of each and every one of us as children of the Netarot, guardians. Within human, Nubian males, Humim, Nubian females, Human, Oriental, Red Arab and East Indian, and Humane, Caucasian and Pale Arab, beings, the 9 principles actually produce 9 levels, 6 levels or 3 levels of consciousness respectively, based on your genetic potency. The principle of Ba, soul, is in tune with the physical realm of existence, where those things which are material, medical, medicinal, matter or natural are loggable or perceivable, and as such it activates the root or basic seat called the carnal seat, located at the base of the spine, and is in tune with the Ba, soul. It superimposes the prostate area in the human, Nubian male, and the uterus in the human, Nubian female. Thus this principle, the Ba, soul, affects the emotions, producing either the higher passion, as in being passionate about the well-being of a loved one, teachings, writings, buildings, drawings, etc., or the lower lust, as in lusting after another or being envious of another. This is the plane where all energy matter manifests into physical form. Thus the masters of old used the formula of E equals mc squared, energy equals mass times the speed of light, to symbolize that this is where all forms of energy are manifested as emotions. Simply E equals energy and M, motion. Holy Tablets 7:142-143. The soul is greater than life because when life is no more, the soul remains forever, in that which the being has done that has affected others. His soul is his essence, and he's remembered time. The soul is greater, it gives you your will to live or die in the physical. Thus the physical life of the soul is 1,000 years in this realm, and the spiritual life of the soul, as the spirit is the shell of the soul, is 43,800 years, but the existence of the soul in the minds of those affected is eternity. Emotional memory is contained and processed in your brain by different structures from those which are used to process factual data. Thus by elaborating on information through an emotional connection to the particular information, you increase the likelihood of creating a relationship to it, thereby increasing your ability to recall the memory of it. As such, when you learn to utilize both of these systems to store what you see, learn, read, speak, hear, etc., things will be stored and more ingrained, thereby easily accessible through your memory. Principle of Ka, body, is in tune with the physical acts of reproduction and the fluids that are used to do so, semen and ovum. As such it activates the sacral seat located at the sacroiliac joint. This is the physical form of the body that could decay after death, as it is the mortal, outward part of your being that can only be preserved by mummification, cryogenics, or through your progeny. The sacral seat, sacrum, is a large triangular bone in the lower spine that connects to the lowest lumbar vertebra and the tailbone, coccyx. This principle, the Ka, works in conjunction with the navel seat and extends to embed some of its roots in the spleen, being that its gland is located over the spleen. Principle of Kabet, plasmatic, is in tune with the life-giving and nourishing liquids of the body, such as the red blood cells, white blood cells and saliva, and as such it activates the navel seat or umbilical seat. The plasmatic you also manifests as your shadow, being able to detach itself from the body and travel at will, though it always stays near the Ba, soul. This principle manifests within the plane of liquid substances and is what so-called modern science refers to as liquid or water. It actually pervades all universal space and acts as a medium for the transmission of life energy such as the breath. This liquid substance forms a connecting link between so-called matter and energy, while partaking or utilizing the nature of each, matter and energy. Even further, the sacred masters of Tamari, ancient Africa, as students of Netar-Tahuti, teach us that this principle and the plane it permeates has 7 subdivisions, and that in fact there are 7 liquids instead of 1, and these 7 liquids are: 1. Spinal fluid, 2. Pus, 3. Blood, 4. Mucus, 5. Seminal fluid, 6. Urethral fluid, and 7. Adrenaline, inclusive of cortisol. Principle of Ab, spiritual heart, is in tune with the heat or pressure which gives you the energy to live. It is called by modern medical professionals as diastolic, resting period, and systolic, muscular contraction. The solar plexus is an actual gland which is in tune with the Ab, spiritual heart, thus its presence is seen as the diaphragm moves in and out, taking in life, inhaling, and giving off life, exhaling, producing the heat or energy which gives us all life and emotions as the spark travels up the 33 vertebrae of the spinal column, where it superimposes or overlays the solar plexus area and the great lobe of the liver. It is called the spiritual heart because it deals with emotions which you can't see, yet their results are perceivable and often felt in the gut, since the stomach sits near this gland, thus causing you to feel every emotion from fear to nervousness to joy in your stomach area, called a gut feeling. The spiritual heart is the source of agreeable and disagreeable within each person. It gives you your sense of moral awareness, being the center of all thought patterns and decision making. Sacred Tablet of Tama Re, the Gold Book, Supplication 46, Blessed are you, O guardians who place the inner heart so that I may learn to have compassion and love for others, and so that I may be known as a true child by this love I have for another. I thank you more times than I shall breathe in my whole life. The reality of the spiritual heart is that it is affected to the point of either making a person possess a heart of gold or being cold-hearted. Whatever happens to your physical heart is in reality a manifestation of what is happening in your spiritual heart, thus, as above so below. The problem is that too often most of you believe that the physical heart or events determines the unseen realities such as your soul, DNA, mind, emotions, spirit, RNA, etc. You've been made to believe that it determines what the physical realities are going to be and how they will be perceived by your senses. Principle of Haadi, physical heart, is tuned with the healing and curing factors of the body which are contained in the blood, such as the immune system and lymphatic system. This principle, the physical heart, is located over the heart and superimposes the thymus gland between the shoulder blades and the right auricle or pulse point of the heart. First of all, we must go back to the fundamentals of nature, which is the heart of each of us. The heart is the seat of emotions for the physical heart. Haadi pumps the fluid of life called the blood throughout your body, while the spiritual heart is responsible for conveying spiritual expressions from the etheric realm to you. Thus the worst thing you can do for either of these two principles of your heart is to hold in grudges, hate, anger, lust, hostility, rage, etc., which are all extremely poisonous emotions because they produce high stress responses. Your mind, body, and affairs are molded according to the divine pattern within. Love. The heart is the most powerful muscle in the physical body, yet it can get strained and abused by the pressures of life as well as the stresses the brain places on it. Living in a world of cold-hearted people puts a serious assault on your heart, and by learning to listen to the principle of divine care that is in your heart, you will begin to experience the youthful energy and outlook in your life which is able to teach you the joy of being alive. There is a fact which deals with your heart that you must realize, which is that the strongest biological mechanism which deals with fluctuations or alternations that are occurring in your body is your heart. Your heart has the ability to pull every other system in your body into sync or rhythm. When your heart is at peace or filled with love, it transfers this harmony to your entire body. At the same time, when emotional toxins have triggered your heart to beat in an irregular way, faster or harder, then the heart will send the opposite message that goes against peace to the other organs in your body. A child of the Netaru recognizes both love and hate as the two most powerful driving forces in life, generating out of each other. No one really knows where love comes in and hate leaves, or vice versa. Yet both emotions are healthy and essential to life, and to possess only one, love or hate, and be deprived of the other is to be as crippled as a bird with only one wing, but to hate another is to hate yourself, as humanity is one and life is living. Thereby, please realize, my children, that both love and hate, in order to be constructive, must be directed in the proper channels. And to do otherwise is destructive and suicidal. To build anything you must destroy something. You must learn to speak with your heart in order to cause the release of certain hormones which will bring about feelings of divine care to your etheric being. Your heart will then send this message of wellness onto your body by releasing certain helpful hormones and neurotransmitters. And of all of these, the most powerful source of communication your heart can use to relay positive energies to your body is through your heart's electromagnetic field, which is actually around 7,000 times more intense than the electromagnetic field which your brain emits, yet they both work together. Remember, your heart rate sends different messages to your brain and body, such as to be excited or be content and relaxed. In order to learn to listen to your heart, you must learn to ask yourself, how am I really feeling? This way you will become aware of your own emotional state, and then you have to ask yourself, how do I make other people feel? If you are honest with yourself, you will have to admit that you make others feel either driven, controlled, angry or hurt, and as such you must be driven by your own self-preservationist ways, making you not consider others. You must start trusting yourself and realize that you don't need another person to tell you how to feel, because the fact is that you already know yourself and your true inner feelings. Now, you may not know how to access these emotions in order to purge yourself of them, and that is where this parchment and the various spiritual journey within seminars, sessions and gatherings come into play, for they will teach you how to recognize what the various emotions you go through are actually telling you about yourself. Principle of Ku, mental you, is the immortal part, the radiant and endarkened portion of you that lives on in Sahu, Orion, Sibtu, Sirius, and if deemed worthy Ilion. It is the intellect, will and intentions of your very being that is transfigured at death and ascended to the heavens to live with the Netaru, or the imperishable stars, suns, as you merge with and become one with them. It is in tune with the mucus, which is the thick, slimy fluid secreted by the mucous membranes. This principle protects the body as the mucus moistens, lubricates, and protects the parts of the body that are lined by mucous membranes. The mucous membrane is a soft, pink skin-like layer that lines many of the cavities and tubes in the body, such as the alimentary canal, digestive tract, nasal passage, respiratory tract, The urinary and genital passages where mucus called cum in humans or precum in males facilitates sexual intercourse, eyelids, and even prevents the stomach acid from damaging the stomach wall and prevents enzymes from digesting the intestine. Mucus also eases swallowing and lubricates food as it passes through the alimentary canal. It also moistens air as it is inhaled and traps smoke and other foreign particles in the airways to keep them out of the lungs where they could cause illnesses such as pneumonia. Half of every illness is in the mind, so make up your mind, you don't want to be ill, and you are half better already. The spirit of the mental you is your subconscious, the part of your thinking that is involved with your DNA, soul, and RNA, spirit, thus needs to be reserved. Principle of Sekhem, the spark of life in you, is in tune with the breath or breathing, air, life. With each breath you take, every molecule in your body dies and is replaced by another, which is identical and retains the memory of the original. Your molecular structure dies and is recreated with each breath you take, thus inhale equals taking in life and exhale equals give off life. All your experiences are passed on to your offspring. These experiences never disappear, instead they take on new forms, or better yet new reactions based on how your children's experiences cause them to be decoded or interpreted. The Holy Tablet 7:144-145, in part, when a person dies, the soul and the breath of life is the last thing to leave the physical body. Then being the human should live to 120 earth years and 1000 is nature, and a part of nature, on the plane of force, which is the breath of life. His existence goes on to complete the cycle of existence, until he or she is remembered no more. This principle, the spark of life in you, is located at the front of the throat at the laryngeal seat, thus superimposing itself on the thyroid gland in the throat and extends to embrace the medulla oblongata. The laryngeal is an actual nerve that carries instructions from the brain to the larynx, voice box, and sends sensations from the larynx to the brain. Each of these nerves leaves the brain through a hole in the base of the skull and passes down the neck. The Sacred Records of Autumn Ray 15106, what is breath? Simply breathing. You must inhale and exhale. And the word hail means free from infirmity or illness, sound from Middle English, from Old English hal, meaning health. Sekhem is a metaphysical system in which reality is considered as a unified whole. The elders referred to the healing ether as nafs, also called prana or Sekhem. They said that the entire universe, from spirit to human, is the product of one substance. It is the primary and basic substance out of which the earth and the heavens are made. All are composed of the same substance with this difference. In one field of expression, its manifestations are subtle and invisible, in the other they are gross and visible. Subtle and invisible equals soul, gross and visible equals body. The Holy Tablet 7560, so it is important to make use of breathing exercises such as Haadu, or what the Orientals called Tai Chi. Without the activity of Sekhem upon the soul, Ra, the physical body, remains in a state of darkness, thus humans are constantly projecting their life force outward. This positive I negative life force will flow throughout the body, recharging every cell. This spark called Sekhem is in every atom of creation, and with it the Most High harmonizes the entire life processes of all people and nature, because Sekhem is a constant rhythmic pulsation. The Holy Tablet 7537-44, power of vitality or energy. Each blood cell must have a well-balanced power of vitality. As it goes through the arteries and veins of the body, this vitality results from a proper relationship between the etheric form and physical form. When you breathe into your lungs oxygen, this is physical. On the other hand, there is something else that is in the air which gives you life and vitality. Anu Alyun Alyun El, the Most High, the Highest, puts it there. It is a spiritual life force called the divine breath. Principle of Ka, spirit, is in tune with the intellect and thinking abilities. This principle, the Ka, is found located in the space between the eyebrows, and thus it superimposes the pituitary gland, which is sometimes referred to as the master gland, being that it is the most important gland of the endocrine glands. The pituitary controls and regulates the activities of the other glands and many body functions. This principle of your being has the innate ability to exist within nature for up to 1000 years. It can inhabit the body of your blood progeny or even statues of the deceased called Shawaptis, known as Teraphim in the myth-made Bible. This principle of your being is also independent of the physical body and can move, eat and drink at will, as there is both a higher, guardian angel like Ka, spirit, which incarnates through you, and lower Ka, spirit, that comes from knowledge you have learned while in flesh and blood form. The Holy Tablet 71135, the spiritual body houses the soul of the spiritual etheric plane. A human being can have a spirit without a soul. Principle of Ak, etheric you, is in tune with the mental or meditative abilities within you. This principle, the Ak, is found located on the top of the head, and it superimposes the pineal gland, radiating its energy outward to cover the entire head. The crown seat is where the pineal gland sits. Thus we have two words, penile and pineal, with their roots in the word penny or pine, which is pronounced feni, meaning face, where man either transcends the mask or face of El or Al, or is ruled by carnal desire, thus penis equals face of S serpent. The pineal gland has a direct relationship with the tonsils, forming what is referred to as the ascending sacred triangle. Then there is the descending sacred triangle, which is formed between the submental, parotid gland, and the area on top of the mastoid bones, magnetic lobes. The Yak, etheric you, is your incorruptible spiritual self that can gain entrance into the etheric heavenly abode, appearing from the physical body after the judgment of the dead was passed, if successful, with all of your mental and spiritual abilities being impressed upon it, and can be passed on in the personage of your physical children, the living body. There is another factor of enormous significance in the human system. The positive and negative currents are termed Pingala or Ida respectively. All manifestation gives rise to a polarity. It is when the positive and negative forces of this polarity are balanced that manifestation ceases. This third force is called the middle pillar in Egyptian terminology. It is the channel in the center of the spine through which the energies flow only when the other two forces are balanced. The Egyptian tradition sometimes describes Pa-Arusat, the chakras, as lotuses, as the many lotus plants that line the Nile River in Egypt, and allocates a certain number of petals to each one as the SGL symbol and Aman symbol. This notion is often confusing to the Sabian until they realizes that this is merely another way of describing the rate of vibration or frequency of the energy at that Arush chakra. The Arusat seats or centers seem to resemble the lotus. The lines of vibrations forms the appearance of petals stretching towards the sacred tone of the 19 universes, Om. The ability to emerge and blossom like lotus petals is dormant within you. This ability only awaits the proper channels to be stimulated. The number of petals in each lotus is the same as the number of spokes or rays of the sun, which each wheel of force has. To illustrate this principle, experiments could be made with revolving discs. These would appear to have a varying number of spokes according to the speed at which they revolve. Similarly, the colors which Pa-Arusat, the chakras, would throw off also depends upon the speed of their revolution. Colors are in actuality vibration waves moving at different speeds, and the hue they emit determines the speed in which they are moving, producing what you refer to as color. If one carefully observe this, one may notice the level at which this vibration is seated in oneself. Thus each Arush chakra is moving at different speeds, emitting different hues because of the vibrational speed they are moving on. Pa-Arusat, the chakra seats, are not only affected by the different hues, they are also affected by the different vibrational sounds. There is a voltage and current between a human's cranium or ek, crown center, located at the top of the head, and the steket, root or carnal center, which is located at the base of the spine. This all takes place in the cerebrospinal system. It expands and is expressed in electromagnetic wave fields of positive and negative charges or impulses received by the cerebrospinal system, which illuminates different colors of light. This electromagnetic wave field contains the ether particles of green light, which are waiting to be drawn into the body by Pa-Arusat, the seats. A subject of interest which opens out from the study of these positive and negative currents is the incidence of right and left-sidedness in people. Most people have one hand, foot or eye stronger than the other. The reason for this is that they have either the positive outgoing or negative receptive side of their nature more highly developed at that level. It may be that in the very highly evolved person these positive and negative forces are equally balanced. It is recounted, for example, of the great adept Imhotep, that he could write equally well and at the same time, with both hands. Each human being was ambidextrous, meaning they had the ability to use both sides of their body. However, when the planet Earth shifted to a 23-degree axis, this caused human beings to use only one side of their body, depending on which side they ended up on the planet. The well-known laws of attraction and repulsion in electricity and magnetism are that like repels like and opposites attract each other. These laws apply to the positive and negative currents in the human system. Sensing and acting are negative and positive. Therefore, action in one person is always attracted to receptivity or sensing in another. We see this in the male-female relationship, where the active outgoing male nature is paired with the receptive passive female nature and vice versa. Through the balancing or matting of two opposite poles, a third quality is always born. Each new element or vibration is formed from the interaction of the positive and negative phases of the parents. One may compare this process to that of stirring two ingredients together to produce a third one from their combination. Any new manifestation must always come from the interaction of a positive and negative force, as for example the incarnation of a Ba soul through the union of Esh, male, and Eshu, female. In this connection some knowledge is thrown on the sex of children born, the relative dominance of the positive and negative factors in both mother and father at the time of conception will determine whether the incarnating Ba soul comes in a male or female body.